Have you ever wondered why you feel stuck day after day, year after year? Your goals are still there, on the horizon, just as far away as they were yesterday, but you never reach them. They never come true. Do you want to know why? Because you're not telling yourself the truth. Yes, you heard that right. So often we avoid facing the truths that hurt the most, and of course that way we can't move forward. The Stoics didn't go through life wearing a blindfold. They accepted reality, no matter how harsh it was, and kept moving forward, staying true to their purpose, fulfilling their dreams. Today, I'm going to show you the uncomfortable truths you need to tell yourself every single day to finally break the chains you've forged yourself. The chains of comfort, fear, and worrying about what others will say. The Stoics managed to break those chains one by one. They knew that only those who dare to look at reality without sugarcoating it can truly live. There's no easy comfort or false promises here. Here you'll find clarity, courage, and action. If you're willing to look yourself in the mirror every day and speak the truth, if you commit to embracing the hardness that leads to freedom, no matter how much it hurts, stay with me, because today your transformation begins. Let me start by telling you the story of Ivan, a man who hadn't told himself the truth in a long time. Ivan had been feeling for a while that he'd lost himself, that he was nobody anymore. A few months earlier, everything had fallen apart with a simple message. "I'm leaving." 2 words. Just like that. Since then, abandoned by his partner of many years, he lived like a ghost, sleeping with his clothes on, eating whatever he found in the fridge while standing, avoiding the mirror so he wouldn't see what was left of him. Every night he'd turn off the light, curse his luck, cry, and tell himself, "I don't deserve this. Why me?" Until something happened that changed everything. One night, after eating an expired yogurt for dinner, the floor under his feet turned cold like stone. The walls around him seemed to close in with every step. At the end of the main hallway in his house, there was a huge door waiting for him. Dark, splintered wood. A door he didn't even remember being there. How could that be? It was his house. Something inside him whispered he shouldn't open it. But his hand was already on the handle. He opened it. Inside, just silence, and an enormous mirror covered in dust. A mirror Ivan didn't want to approach. He'd been avoiding his own reflection for so long. But he moved closer, and what he saw through the dirt made him shiver. A hunched man with empty eyes, as if life had nothing left to offer him. Afraid, he grabbed an old rag and started wiping, hoping the reflection would improve as he cleared the grime. Then the words appeared, one after another, carved into the glass like scars. "No one is going to save you. Fear doesn't go away unless you face it. Time doesn't wait for you." One after another, the phrases kept appearing on the glass as the rag swept away the dust. Ivan couldn't believe his eyes. "How can this be?" he thought. The mirror was speaking to him, shouting the truths he hadn't dared to tell himself. "Comfort kills too," the mirror went on. "You're the one holding your own chains," he read next. And so, 12 phrases in total. 12 harsh truths he should have been telling himself every day for months, even years. With every phrase that emerged, his reflection began to change. First, he raised his head, then his gaze lit up, his shoulders straightened, until with the last line he found himself staring at a man who at last dared to look himself in the eye. He felt a strange warmth course through his body, as if he were finally free. And then, he woke up. Gasping, drenched in sweat, his heart pounding, Ivan sat up in bed. The room was dim, heavy with silence. He put his hands over his face and, for the first time in a long time, he smiled, because that nightmare hadn't been a punishment. It was a sign. He remembered something he'd once read in an old book by Marcus Aurelius. If the truth hurts you, it's because you're still a slave to it. And he knew he couldn't go on being a slave to himself. Since that night, every morning he's no longer afraid of the mirror, or the truth, or life. Every day when he wakes up, he repeats out loud the 12 harsh truths that the mirror of his soul showed him in that nightmare. because he finally understood that freedom doesn't come from running away from reality, but by facing it head-on, even if it hurts. Before going on, let me ask you, how long has it been since you told yourself the truth you need to hear? My friend, if you feel you need to accept the reality life is giving you, share this video with someone you think it could help and join as an exclusive member to access our most valuable content. And leave your commitment in the comments. Write, Stoic at heart. I accept the truth and move forward. That will be your promise to a better life. Now, let's begin. 1. No one is going to save you. My friend, let's be clear from the start. No one is going to come and save you. No hero is going to walk through the door. No fairy godmother is going to wave her wand. Your life isn't a movie. Imagine you're in your kitchen and smoke starts pouring out of the oven. Within seconds, you can't see anything. It smells like something's burning. Flames start to rise. Would you just sit there in your chair, calmly eating your cereal, watching your house burn down, waiting for someone to come and save you? Sounds absurd, doesn't it? And yet, that's exactly what you do every time an uncomfortable problem shows up. An argument at work, a setback you don't know how to handle. You convince yourself that someone will come with the solution, with the answers, with the key to unlock your chains. Believe me, no one is coming. And that's okay. The sooner you accept it, the sooner you'll start building the life you really want. Because this is one of the harshest but most freeing truths. No one is going to save you. What weighs on you, what hurts you, what you're missing, it's on you to fix it. How many times have you sat in the middle of a problem, waiting for a call, a message, a hand to appear out of nowhere to pull you out? The days pass, and you keep hoping someone will show up to help, but no one does, and you wonder why. The answer is simple, because you're still sitting in your kitchen waiting for someone else to put out the fire in your oven. And life doesn't work like that, my friend. Seneca put it bluntly. It's not because things are difficult that we don't dare. It's because we don't dare that they're difficult. The Stoics knew this so well they repeated it like a commandment. The longer you wait for a savior, the harder your life becomes. For Epictetus, even as a slave, this was the root of freedom. Accepting that no one was coming to give him anything, and that the little or much he had was in his mind and in his hands. Marcus Aurelius, with all the power in the world at his feet, understood the same, that not all the soldiers of Rome nor all the gods of Olympus could relieve him of his daily duty to act for himself. And that's what they did. Every day they took responsibility for their part, no matter how small, no matter how uncomfortable, no matter how lonely. True dignity, they said, lies in not handing your soul or your actions over to someone else. Do you think Epictetus, with chains on his feet, sat around waiting for his master to treat him justly? No, he became master of his own thoughts. Do you think Marcus Aurelius waited for fate to resolve his battles? No, he wrote with his own hand that nature does not wait for us to be ready. That's the lesson. What you need to do, you do it. Yourself now with your own strength. The longer you wait, the harder it gets, the heavier the chain becomes. And don't just sit with the words. Start today. Accept this uncomfortable truth and act. Identify just one thing you've been putting off because you expect it to fix itself or for someone else to do it for you. Don't wait until tomorrow. You do it. Every time you catch yourself hoping for a miracle or for outside help, stop and say out loud, "No one's coming. It's me." And third, before you go to bed tonight, write down 3 things you accomplished on your own, without depending on anyone else. Read them and celebrate them as your small Stoic victory of the day. Because, my friend, this is the truth that hurts the most and frees you the most. No one is going to save you. And the sooner you accept it, the sooner you'll be able to put out the fire in your kitchen and walk out your own door, stronger and freer. 2. Fear doesn't go away if you don't face it. Ah, fear. That great hidden enemy, invisible but so powerful. How many times have you tried to avoid what you fear? How many times have you run away from your responsibilities, thinking that if you just hid long enough, fear would leave? But here's a secret. Fear doesn't go away on its own. It's not a guest who packs its bags one day and walks out. Fear stays, and if you don't face it, it locks you in a windowless room. And here's the truth you need to accept. Fear isn't conquered by waiting for it to leave, or denying it, or running from it. You beat it by looking it in the eye, accepting it's there, and walking straight toward it. Picture this. It's your best friend's wedding and he asks you to say a few words during dinner. You, with a forced smile, say sure, of course, without thinking much. But as soon as you get home and close the door, you start sweating. Your hands shake just thinking about it, and for the next 2 weeks you barely sleep. You see yourself up there, stammering in front of everyone, your face red, not knowing what to say. And then the big day comes. You've got the glass in your hand, your heart pounding in your chest, and 1,000 excuses to slip out through the kitchen. But no, you stand up. Your voice cracks, your hands tremble, your words stumble out. And then suddenly people smile, they laugh, they even applaud. That's when you realize fear never left. You just walked with it to the end, you faced it, and you beat it. The Stoics didn't see fear as an enemy to destroy, but as an uncomfortable teacher. Marcus Aurelius said there was no point in fearing what was inevitable. For him, fear was a sign you were standing in front of something meaningful, something worth it. Epictetus, even as a slave, learned to look fear in the face, to accept that he couldn't control the outcome, but he could control his attitude. A Stoic trains himself to understand that fear doesn't define him. He notices it, breathes through it, and keeps walking. He doesn't wait for it to go away before acting because he knows it doesn't go away on its own. Think about the great figures we admire today and how they overcame fear. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison for standing by his principles. Do you think he didn't feel fear? Or that he waited for fear to leave before going out and fighting against inequality? Of course not. He took fear by the hand and walked firmly until he reached his goal. After becoming president, he put it brutally clearly. I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear. Ah, what a Stoic phrase, don't you think? And I think we can agree that what Mandela went through was a little harder than giving a speech at a friend's wedding. Fear will always be there, in your mind. But you decide whether you let it rule or just give it the place it deserves. So if you're willing to look fear in the face and accept it's never going to leave, here are 3 concrete steps for you. First, before a tough moment, take a deep breath and say, yes, I'm afraid, and I'll go ahead anyway. Second, at least once a week, do something small that scares you. Talk to a stranger, sign up for that activity that embarrasses you. Try something new you've always avoided. And third, when you feel fear rising, ask yourself, what would I do if I weren't afraid? And then do it anyway. My friend, accepting that fear won't go away is like learning to sail on a stormy sea. You can't stop the waves, but you can keep your hand steady on the wheel. And right when you dare to ride the waves, fear starts losing its power, and you discover that on the other side is the life you've always wanted. 3. Time doesn't wait for you. Have you ever wondered how much of your life you're letting slip away while you wait for the so-called perfect moment? Imagine that every day you're deposited 1,440 coins into your account. Exactly that amount, no more, no less. But these coins aren't gold or silver, they're the minutes of your day. And here comes the uncomfortable question. What are you spending them on? Because at the end of each day, they're gone. You can't save them and you can't ask for them back. And this is one of those harsh truths that's hardest to accept, but can change your life the most. Time doesn't wait for you, it doesn't come back to you, and you can't get it back. Take a good look at what you're doing. Those 1,440 coins get spent on empty conversations, on overthinking things you can't change, on staring at the ceiling while you say, I'll do it tomorrow. And yet you keep acting like tomorrow will give you back today's minutes, as if life had a pause button. Do you think fate is saving up the minutes you didn't use? Spoiler, no, fate saves nothing. They say that in a small valley in Greece there once lived a farmer who always repeated the same phrase whenever someone reminded him to start planting: "There's still time." Every spring his neighbors would get up early, plowing and scattering seeds while he watched from his doorway, arms crossed, with the calm of someone who thinks he has all the time in the world. Some days he'd busy himself fixing the roof, others cleaning tools, others just sitting in the shade of an olive tree. And whenever his fellow farmers asked, he'd say, "I'll start tomorrow." That tomorrow turned into weeks, and those weeks into months, until one especially cold winter arrived earlier than expected. That morning, the farmer finally woke up determined, grabbed the sack of seeds and went out to the field ready to work. But when he struck the earth with his hoe, the ground was hard as stone, frozen and cracked. The seed could no longer sink in. The season was over, and nothing, not his regret, not his lament, could bring back the days he'd wasted. And it was then, during that harsh winter that he had to endure almost without food, that he accepted the hardest truth: that time waits for no one. He understood that he'd confused patience with laziness and confidence with blindness. That's what happens to you too when you keep putting off the things you know matter. You think there will always be another season, a better moment, a more comfortable tomorrow. But then one day the ground goes cold, and all you're left with is wondering why you didn't do it sooner. Seneca put it brutally: "It's not that we have too little time, but that we waste much of it. Life is long enough to achieve the greatest undertakings, if we use it well." For the Stoics, time was the only thing truly valuable, because it was the only thing you could never recover. Marcus Aurelius wrote that he had to live each day as if it were his last, because it just might be. To them, wasting time wasn't just a mistake, it was a way of betraying yourself. And here's the lesson: putting off what's important is self-deception. Time is the fairest thing in the universe because it gives us all the same amount each day. But the difference is what you choose to do with it. The Stoics didn't wait for the perfect moment because they knew it never comes. That was their way of honoring life, acting before the ground grew cold and nothing could grow. Today, you do the same as that farmer when you spend hours scrolling on your screen without realizing those coins are slipping away forever. I can even picture Marcus Aurelius in a modern office telling someone, "Time flies if you don't grab it hard. Put that screen down already and do something that matters." Because yes, time runs and it doesn't come back. It was true for the Stoics thousands of years ago, and it's still true for us today. So every time you feel you're throwing your time into things that aren't worth it, stop and ask yourself, is this what I want to buy with my minutes? Because, my friend, when you see it that way, you understand that there's nothing more valuable than learning to spend your time well. 4. Comfort is killing you. Have you noticed how the modern world is designed so you don't have to move? Everything is set up so you can stay on the couch. You press a button and food shows up at your door. You've got an app to pay bills without getting out of bed. You can work, shop for clothes, watch movies, talk to friends, all without taking a single step outside your house. Even if you're too lazy to turn on the light, Alexa does it for you. Sure, it's convenient, but it's also a silent trap. Little by little, you need less and less effort to get what you want, and, without realizing it, you stop even wanting to try. Don't get me wrong. Progress is good. Technology connects us, makes life easier, I know. We don't have to hunt our food and risk our lives every day anymore, and that's great. But think for a second. Is all this comfort really necessary? Comfort is an achievement of our species, absolutely. But here comes one of those truths that hurts to accept. Too much comfort weakens you. Because what warms you like a heavy blanket in winter today, tomorrow stops you from getting up. The problem isn't ordering your groceries on your phone or lying down to watch a show. The problem is that little by little, you start losing the will to push yourself, the strength to go out there and chase what you want in life, the courage to face whatever comes. You get used to what's easy, to avoiding discomfort, to not challenging yourself. And when you finally need strength for something important, you discover it's no longer there. because comfort took it from you while you were watching Netflix and ordering takeout. Imagine one day you decide to take a break from the gym, just for this week. You tell yourself you're tired, that you've earned it. The next week you're not really in the mood because, well, you didn't lose much muscle anyway, right? The third week you start saying it's too cold, you didn't sleep well, you're too busy, blah blah blah. Spoiler, by the time you notice, a year has gone by. The muscles are gone, your energy too. And all you've got left is a pile of excuses and a couch shaped like your body. The Stoics knew this well. For them, excessive comfort was a trap for the soul. Marcus Aurelius, with all the power in the world in his hands, slept on hard floors to remind himself that his strength didn't come from pillows, but from his spirit. For him, life wasn't about getting comfortable, but about training himself every day to grow stronger. He said, "Your body shouldn't take charge of your thoughts. Your thoughts should govern your body." And with that conviction, he endured cold nights, wars, illness, and betrayal without letting his spirit break. Even today, psychologists confirm it. Kelly McGonigal explains in her studies that when we constantly avoid effort, our brain starts associating any discomfort with danger, which reinforces the vicious cycle of passivity. According to her, every little physical challenge you choose, walking when you don't feel like it, taking the stairs instead of the elevator, also trains your mind to face emotional and social challenges. It's not just your body that grows stronger, it's your character. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson understands this perfectly. In interviews, he says he trains like his life depends on it every single day, precisely to keep comfort from making him weak. Can you imagine Epictetus today, sitting on a couch with Netflix saying, "One more episode and then I'll face life"? Most likely after 2 minutes he'd stand up and say, "This is worse than the chains when I was a slave." So if you want this hard truth to make you stronger and bring you closer to the life you want, start small. Every week, do something uncomfortable on purpose. Wake up earlier, run in the rain, say no to a plan so you can put yourself first. And when you feel your day was too easy, find a challenge to shake it up, no matter how small. Because comfort, my friend, lulls you to sleep without you noticing. And only when you decide to make yourself uncomfortable do you discover how strong you still can be. So if you dare to say no to comfort, if you dare to grow stronger every day, go to the comments and write, "I choose effort. I'm Stoic." 5. You're the one holding your chains. Do you know what's sad about today? That there are no more slaves, no masters beating us with whips, no iron chains clanking as we walk. And yet we're still chained. Yes, you heard me right. Maybe the chains are no longer made of metal and we don't live like animals at our master's mercy, but are you sure you're free? Because nowadays, my friend, we're the ones tightening our own shackles. We tie ourselves to fear, to comfort, to the approval of others. We become voluntary prisoners with the key hanging around our neck while we complain that the cell door is locked. Listen to me, because this is one of the hardest truths to accept. It's not your boss, not your partner, not the government. It's you who's holding your own chains. I'll be honest. Many years ago, I lived it myself. I had a job I hated and a relationship that wasn't working, and still, every morning I woke up hoping that something would change. I complained about the boss, the city, the routine, the heat, everything, except the most obvious thing, that it was me who stayed there, who signed the paychecks, who smiled out of obligation. And one day, after months of self-pity, I finally dared to tell myself the truth. I sat down and accepted why I was in that situation, who was really responsible, and what I needed to do to get out. And that's when, only then, I realized that the door had always been open and the key had been hanging around my neck the whole time. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. Epictetus said it plainly. No man is free who is not master of himself. To him, chains weren't just made of iron, and masters weren't just men with whips. The real chains were invisible: envy, dependence, routine, guilt. All those chains aren't made of metal, but they weigh just the same. And the masters aren't emperors or jailers. They're your fear of failing, your need for likes on social media, your boss you obey without question, your own fear of being alone. If you keep blaming others, you're just tightening the shackle yourself. Viktor Frankl, who survived the concentration camps, explained it with brutal serenity. When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. Ah, what a phrase, what a punch of wisdom, pure responsibility. He accepted his pain, told himself the truth, and understood that no one could take away his inner freedom. And so, even in the midst of horror, he proved that chains are only real if you decide to wear them. I can even imagine Epictetus sitting in a Starbucks, hearing someone say, "My boss has me tied down," and him raising an eyebrow while stirring his coffee, replying, "Well, let go, champ, and no one's holding you with anything." So, my friend, if you dare to accept that you're the one putting your own chains around your neck, do something simple. Write down on a sheet what's bothering you today, and next to it, what part of it depends on you. And when you think "I can't," change it to "I don't want to let go yet," and feel the difference. Because accepting this truth might hurt, but it also sets you free. The chains were never fully locked, you just have to dare to open your hand. 6. The harm you feel is your own doing. Tell me, why do you keep poking at that wound as if you depended on it to exist? Yes, I know, others can hurt you that you can't avoid, but you're the one making sure it keeps hurting every single day. Like you've got a thorn in your finger and you press it again and again just to check if it's still there. Don't you see that every day you do that, you're hurting yourself? This is one of those truths you should repeat every morning like a mantra. Only I can hurt myself, and I'm not the one saying it. Marcus Aurelius did. The harm they may do me is not in their power. Only I can harm myself, if I choose to. Imagine a friend doesn't invite you to their birthday. You spend days replaying the moment, scrolling through the party photos on Instagram, telling everyone how they let you down. Because of course their rejection hurt you. Really? Are you sure that's it? Because the hurt doesn't come from what they did. It comes from you staying there, staring at the wound, reopening it. Or think about this. Someone cuts in line at the supermarket, and you spend the entire afternoon cursing, thinking about what you should have said. Does that really matter? Is it really worth your energy? When you compare it to what truly matters, you realize most offenses are insignificant, like leaves in the wind. Or have you never lost a loved one? Have you never felt the pain of saying goodbye to someone forever? Ah, that changes things, doesn't it? When we put what happens to us into perspective and compare it to what really matters, we see the truth. Most of the time, the harm comes from ourselves. Psychology backs this up, and strongly. Tara Brach, psychologist and author, explains that prolonged suffering doesn't come from the initial wound, but from your refusal to let it go. Pain is inevitable, of course, but what you do with it afterward is your choice, and that is your great power. You can turn what happens to you into an eternal punishment or into an invaluable lesson. And this isn't just what the Stoics said or what psychology confirms, it's a universal truth. Buddha himself said it thousands of years ago. Pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. My friend, when different cultures, religions, thinkers across all time agree on something, it's for a reason. Believe me, you're not responsible for what they do to you, but you are responsible for how long you choose to carry it. Marcus Aurelius wrote it over and over by his own hand in his meditations. He filled pages reminding himself that nothing external could touch his soul unless he allowed it. For the Stoics, what others do is out of your control. What you do with it is all that matters. Resentment doesn't punish others. It traps you in an endless storm. But let's bring it into modern life so you can see this isn't just old philosophy. Imagine Marcus Aurelius on Twitter today, replying to an insult with a simple, "Offenses only hurt if you accept them." Or Seneca at a neighborhood meeting, listening to someone complain, "They gave me the wrong parking space." And him, calm, with a slight smile, "My friend, it's not the parking spot that disturbs you, it's your mind." If you want to start freeing yourself from unnecessary suffering, Try something simple. Next time someone hurts you, count to 10 and quietly say, "This only hurts if I let it." Then breathe. And finally, look in the mirror and remind yourself of this truth you should tell yourself every day. Only I can hurt myself. Come on, dare to try it, even if just for a day. Stop blaming others and accept that the only one who can truly hurt you is you. If you're ready to take responsibility, go to the comments and write, "Only I can harm myself." I'm Stoic. 7. What you ignore today will destroy you tomorrow. Here's a truth you should tell yourself every morning, even if it hurts. What you ignore today will destroy you tomorrow. That truth isn't comfortable, but it's necessary. Because ignoring it doesn't make it any less real, like it only makes it more dangerous. Have you ever had a leak in your ceiling? At first, it's just a couple of drops trickling down the wall when it rains. Just a soft plop that barely wets the floor. Easy to ignore, easy to leave for tomorrow. You tell yourself it's not a big deal. But the Stoics wouldn't have left it for tomorrow. Epictetus, hearing the first drop, would have gotten up immediately. Because for him, true freedom wasn't putting things off. It was taking care of what depended on you. But you let the leak continue. And one day, you wake up to a soaked bed, a collapsed ceiling, and a flooded floor. And only then do you ask yourself, how did it come to this? That's how it is with everything, my friend. What you ignore doesn't disappear. It gets bigger, more obvious, more painful. Every morning you feel a little twinge in your knee climbing the stairs, and you tell yourself it's nothing. A month later, you can't even squat down. A year later, you're in surgery. Or that person at work who always disrespects you with cruel jokes, and you just smile and let it go because you don't want to cause conflict. And one day you realize you can't stop it anymore, and it's no longer just about them. Now it's you who can't look in the mirror without feeling small. Every excuse you give yourself, every truth you refuse to face, is another drop making the hole bigger. James Clear summed it up perfectly in Atomic Habits. Every action you take is a vote for the person you wish to become. And that sentence could have been written by Marcus Aurelius himself. To him, every day you didn't act, didn't face the small cracks, you were voting to become weaker. The Stoics didn't postpone uncomfortable truths. Of course not. They wrote them down in their journals, faced them daily, and acted, because they knew looking away was the beginning of disaster. Epictetus, with his chains, wouldn't have said, "I'll think about it tomorrow." Marcus Aurelius wouldn't have let dampness creep into his palace out of fear of being inconvenienced. And it was the same with everything, not just physical things, but with fears, with problems, with the misfortunes life threw at them. They told themselves the harshest truths and dealt with them before it was too late. So look at yourself carefully and answer me. What crack are you letting grow? What truth are you refusing to tell yourself because it's uncomfortable? That's the question the Stoics ask themselves every morning, and the one you should ask yourself today. You can start right now. Pick one crack, the one you've been putting off, and do something, even something small, to fix it. And each night, instead of rehearsing excuses, ask yourself, what version of myself am I building with what I do or don't do? Put a note on your mirror with another question to wake you up. Am I ignoring something important out of comfort or fear? And the next time you hear the plop of a leak in your life, don't wait for the ceiling to collapse. Get up, say it out loud, as Marcus Aurelius would. Today I tell myself the truth. Today I act. 8. You can't control anything except yourself. There's a truth the Stoics repeated to themselves over and over, with the calm of someone who's lived enough to understand it. You can't control anything except yourself. And the sooner you accept it, the sooner you'll find peace. Because trying to control the world is like shouting at the ocean to stop its waves, or trying to hold the wind in your hands. Useless, but exhausting. In a remote village many years ago, they say, there lived an old man who was always upset because sand from the beach kept blowing into his house. Day after day at dawn, you'd see him sweeping the shore. The neighbors would stop and stare, not quite believing it. One day, a passerby, curious, came closer and asked, "What are you trying to do, good man?" The old man, sweat on his brow and back bent, answered, "I'm trying to stop the sand from reaching my house." Hours passed, and like every day, the sea kept bringing more and more sand until, defeated, he sat down in his doorway. That same afternoon, his grandson appeared, having watched him follow this ritual his whole life. This time, the boy brought him a gift, a new door. His grandfather's was old, cracked from years of wear, letting in all the sand the sea brought. The boy said, "Grandpa, leave the beach alone and just close this. The sand will still be there, but it won't come in anymore." That's when the old man finally understood. It wasn't the sea that had to change, but himself. Now imagine you're on a plane. Turbulence starts, and you feel your stomach in your throat. You grip the armrest, you sweat, you glare at the pilot, you think you'll never fly again. But the plane keeps shaking just the same. Now, imagine you look at the seat next to you, and there he is, calmly writing in his journal, Marcus Aurelius. Calm, immersed in his thoughts, unshaken by the storm rocking the plane. And you wonder, why isn't he upset? Because he already understood he can't control the air, or the plane, or the pilot. He can only control his own reaction. And you, when are you going to understand that? Marcus Aurelius wrote it with the serenity of someone who no longer fights the waves. The universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make of it. To him, the entire universe was a constant flow of things beyond our reach. The rain, the traffic, other people's choices, tragedies, and blessings. All of it was inevitable and neutral. Only your thoughts and actions can be governed. Everything else deserves to be accepted without resistance. My friend, when faced with the unexpected, you must understand that neither hurry nor anger will help. Only the calm of someone who sits on the shore and watches the waves come and go without trying to stop them. The serenity of someone who lets the wind keep blowing and, instead of trying to block it, simply wraps himself in his coat. If you want to start living this truth, here are 3 simple ways to practice it. When something irritates you, do as the Stoics did. Take a deep breath and say to yourself, "Can I control it? Number. Then I let it go." Then notice what is under your control, your words, your decisions, your habits, and focus there. And every time something goes wrong, remind yourself gently, "I can't govern everything, only myself." Because, my friend, the sooner you stop shouting at the ocean, the sooner you'll hear the sound of your own thoughts, and finally, with calm, you'll begin to walk in peace. 9. Perfection is just an excuse not to start. I know they've sold you a different story, but perfection is a lie. A pretty ideal, sure, but nothing more. Waiting for everything to be perfect before you start isn't wisdom. It's fear in disguise. Perfection never arrives because it doesn't exist. And that's okay, because that's life. The beauty is in imperfection, in making mistakes, falling down, trying again. Wanting everything to be perfect is like waiting for every traffic light to turn green before you start driving. While you wait, everyone else is already miles ahead because they move forward, even with difficulties. It's like staying home waiting for the rain to stop so you can go walk in winter. Maybe it's better to just accept the weather and go out in a raincoat, don't you think? Imagine you want to start running, but of course, you're a perfectionist. You spend weeks looking for the perfect shoes, the most accurate fitness app to track your progress, the ideal clothes for the weather in your city. And before you know it, a month has passed and you haven't taken a single step. Meanwhile, every time you walk through the park, you see that guy wearing an old t-shirt and worn-out sneakers, running 20 kilometers every day with his little analog watch that doesn't even track his distance or calories. But what a happy look he has every time he runs past you. Do you know why? Because he doesn't need everything to be perfect. He just does what he has to do. And my friend, let me say it again. The Stoics already knew this. Marcus Aurelius said, "Stop debating what a good man should be. Be one." Ah, you get it now? It's not about everything being perfect, about having all the tools. It's about being and doing what you must. As Sheryl Sandberg put it, done is better than perfect. And that's not just a good phrase to remind you that movement is worth more than waiting. It's also deeply Stoic, because what really matters isn't a flawless result, but a virtuous action. As Marcus Aurelius taught us, life doesn't owe you ideal conditions. Your duty is to act well with what you have. The Stoics never dreamed of perfection. They knew they'd never reach it, but they didn't need to in order to do what was right. Perfection for them was simply doing what had to be done here and now. So be honest. How many opportunities have you let slip waiting for everything to line up? How many times have you stayed on the starting line watching others while you keep getting ready? Enough. Start. Do something today, even if it's small, even if it's done badly. What's the worst that could happen if it's not perfect? The answer, almost always, is nothing. Author John Acuff put it brutally: perfectionism doesn't protect you, it poisons you. And the Stoics would agree. That poison of perfectionism paralyzes you, robs you of your virtue, because it makes you focus more on conditions than on your own conduct. They would tell you, don't wait to be perfect to start, because you never will be. Do something small right now. Set a date and stick to it even if everything isn't exactly how you pictured it. And when you feel your mind start making excuses, stop and remind yourself, life doesn't owe you perfect conditions. What's perfect is to act well, even in the middle of the chaos. If today you decide to stop hiding behind the excuse of perfection and start with what you've got, write in the comments, "Today I start with no excuses. I'm Stoic." And if after all this you still don't know how to face these truths without being crushed by them, here's another video that appears on screen. It will give you the clarity you need to start freeing yourself from your own chains. Not deciding is already a decision. Today I'm going to tell you the story of Adrian, a young man who always dreamed of becoming a chef. Since he was a boy, he would watch, mesmerized, as his grandmother kneaded bread, imagining that one day he'd have his own artisan bakery. For years, every time he walked past a culinary school, he would stop in front of it, hands in his pockets, feeling butterflies in his stomach and thinking, someday I'll go in. Someday it'll be the right time. But that someday turned into years. Adrian always found an excuse, that he didn't have enough money, that it wasn't the right moment, that there were more important things. But really, what he felt was fear. Fear of failing. Fear that if he tried, he'd find out he wasn't as good as he dreamed, as good as his grandmother had been. So he stayed in his office job, filling out spreadsheets, wearing a tight tie around his neck, and feeling his heart grow dimmer every day. He watched as others dared to chase their dreams, as life moved forward, and he stayed there, frozen, convinced that by not deciding he couldn't make a mistake. Until one day, standing in front of the building where his beloved grandmother's bakery used to be, he broke down and cried out of sheer helplessness. He finally saw the truth he'd always avoided. Not deciding was a decision, and he'd made it too many times. Because, my friend, not choosing out of fear of failing is choosing to fail quietly. Thinking that staying still protects you is just a lie so you don't have to face reality. Every time you don't choose, someone or something else chooses for you. And when you finally dare to look back, the train is gone and the platform is empty. Every day you don't choose, you're voting against yourself. Marcus Aurelius said it plainly, delay is the greatest waste of life. Centuries later, psychologist Susan Jeffers confirmed it. Not making a decision is in itself a decision, and it's the worst one you can make. The Stoics understood this deeply. They knew indecision isn't neutral. It's surrender in disguise. To them, living meant deciding constantly, because there's no virtue in passivity. For Marcus Aurelius, indecision was a slow death, because a man who doesn't use his will to choose becomes a leaf at the mercy of the wind. Epictetus taught that, if you don't use your reason to guide your steps, others will use it for you, and then you no longer belong to yourself. So today, look yourself in the mirror and ask, what truth am I avoiding? What decision am I still postponing because I don't want to face myself? If you don't make it, life will. And believe me, life rarely decides in your favor. So today, do yourself a favor. Make a list of those decisions you've been dodging and pick one, just one, and make it today. When you feel doubt freezing you, breathe and remind yourself, not choosing is losing. It's surrendering to life. And you, my friend, you're not here to lose or to surrender. 11. You are not your thoughts. It's time you understood this. You are not your thoughts. You are not that voice whispering that you're not enough. You are not the catastrophic movie your mind plays when you're afraid. You are not that rain of doubts, accusations, and scenarios that never happen. That's just a voice that is not you. Most people spend their lives believing the opposite. They think what they think is reality, but it isn't. They believe that if their mind says you're going to fail, then they will. That if they hear you don't deserve this, then they don't. They identify so much with what passes through their head that they become prisoners of something they didn't even choose. Imagine one morning you wake up, leave your house, and notice someone following you. A stranger you never invited, walking beside you all day, talking non-stop. You're going to be late. They're going to fire you. Everyone's staring at you, they're laughing at you. And instead of ignoring him, instead of setting boundaries, you believe everything he says, as if he were your best friend. Sounds ridiculous, right? Why would you tolerate something like that? Well, I'm sorry to tell you, but you already do, every day. That unpleasant guy who doesn't value you, who disrespects you, that's your mind when you don't question it. A stranger with too much power over you. The Stoics understood this centuries ago. Epictetus taught his students that the mind is like a garden. You can let weeds and thorns grow, or you can choose what to plant and what to pull out. But what you cannot do is believe you are the weeds. Marcus Aurelius wrote for himself, "A man's life is what his thoughts make of it." He didn't say, "is his thoughts," but what he makes of them. That difference changes everything. And it's not just philosophy. Psychology confirms it today. Stephen Hayes, one of the creators of acceptance and commitment therapy, says, "You don't have to believe everything you think, because thoughts are like clouds. They appear, drift by, change, and disappear. You're still there watching the sky. They are not you." Now imagine you're in the middle of an important presentation and your mind starts its little chant to scare you. You're going to blank out. Everyone can see you're nervous, you're going to fail. What do? Many people collapse because they think those lines are a prophecy. But they're not. They're just clouds. And if instead of fighting them, you act anyway, you'll discover they were never stronger than you. The Stoics knew that true mastery doesn't mean erasing negative thoughts, because that's impossible, but not submitting to them. Epictetus said that a free man is someone who isn't carried away by what comes into his mind, that you can hear that voice and still choose to walk in another direction. So look at yourself in the mirror and ask, how much longer are you going to let your mind treat you like a puppet? How many opportunities have you missed because you believed a thought that wasn't even yours? No, you are not the voice that says you can't. You are not the horror movie your brain makes up every time you're afraid. You can start letting go of that lie today. Next time your mind says, "You're worthless," answer, "That's just a sentence." When it whispers, "You can't," say, "We'll see." And when it starts with, "What if it goes wrong?" answer with another question, "And what if it goes right?" Do a Stoic exercise every night. Review the thoughts that hurt you during the day and write next to them a bigger truth. If your mind said, "You're weak," you write, "Today I endured." That's strength. If it thought, "Everyone's mocking me," you write, "Nothing external can touch my soul without my permission." Always remember, my friend, you are not that voice. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who decides what to do with them. And when you accept that, you become master of yourself. If you've made it this far, my friend, there's only one truth left. The one most people would rather not face. But that changes everything when you dare to. Stay with me. because what comes next will set you completely free. 12. Freedom only comes when you accept the truth. Here comes the final truth, the biggest of them all, the one the Stoics repeated to themselves like a daily commandment. Freedom only comes when you dare to accept things as they are, not as you want them to be. They knew this well. Pretending, denying, lying to yourself, that's just a cell disguised as comfort. Epictetus told his students sternly, "You can break all the external chains, but if you keep lying to yourself, you're still a slave. And the longer you hold on to that lie, the more you forget what it was like to live without chains. It's like wearing a heavy mask, so heavy that one day you don't even remember your real face anymore. At first you wear it because you think it protects you, because you believe that if no one sees what's underneath, they can't hurt you. But over time, that mask becomes so much a part of you that you stop breathing, stop moving, stop being." Nelson Mandela understood this better than anyone. When he walked out of prison after 27 years, he said, "As I walked out the door toward my freedom, I knew that if I didn't leave behind my bitterness and hatred, I'd still be a prisoner. Because yes, you can walk out of the cell, but if you don't leave behind the lies you tell yourself, you're still locked up. Imagine you've spent years in a job you hate. You convince yourself there's no alternative, that it's not so bad, that everyone does it. Then one day you're fired. At first it feels brutal. You're walking down the street with your cardboard box and your things, feeling defeated. But as you keep walking, something in you loosens. For the first time in years, you breathe deeply. You feel a strange lightness, as if you can finally see yourself without the disguise. And you think, this is freedom. Marcus Aurelius understood it clearly. It is the way of the reckless man to flee from the truth. The wise man accepts it and acts. For him and for Epictetus, there was no freedom without truth. You could travel the world, pile up riches, fake happiness. But if you didn't dare to see yourself as you truly were, you were still chained. That's why, for them, a painful truth was always better than a comfortable lie. Because the lie calms you on the outside, but poisons you on the inside. Today, I want to invite you to more than just reflection. I want you to act. Look at yourself in the mirror and ask, what lie do I tell myself every morning? That lie that justifies what you do, even though you know it's killing you inside. Write it down, give it a name, look at it and read it aloud. Then ask yourself, what would happen if I stopped holding this lie today? Who would I be without it? And if you don't, ask yourself this too. What is this mask costing me? What relationships have I already lost by holding on to it? What dreams have I not seen because I was afraid to break it? That discomfort you feel when you see yourself without it. That's the price of freedom. And believe me, it's worth it. Every night, write down one truth you avoided during the day. At first it hurts, I know. But after a week, you'll notice you breathe deeper. You walk lighter. You start to recognize yourself again. And don't forget, every time your mind whispers, "It's better not to know," answer it the way a Stoic would. I'd rather carry the truth than live on my knees before a lie. Because, my friend, as long as you keep holding the mask, you're still in the cell, and you weren't born for that. My friend, not everyone dares to look in the mirror and tell themselves the truth. Not everyone is willing to break the chains they've forged themselves, one by one, with fear, with excuses, with silence. Today you've seen there are no shortcuts, no easy comforts, no saviors. Just you facing yourself. And even though it hurts, even though it's uncomfortable, it's the only path to freedom. The Stoics knew it. Life doesn't wait, fear doesn't vanish, time doesn't come back. And every lie you tell yourself is just another shackle. So now the question is, are you going to keep avoiding the truth, or are you finally going to embrace it and walk lighter? If you've made it this far, write in the comments, "Today I speak the truth to myself." That way, I'll know who the true Stoic warriors are, the ones who made it all the way to the end. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button so you don't miss what's coming next. Also, check the description box. We've left some resources there to help you dive deeper into Stoic teachings. Our goal is to bring you as much value as possible, and if at any point you feel like supporting us so we can keep creating this kind of content, you'll find how to do that in the pinned comment. Now, I invite you to explore the playlist on screen. It's designed to help you face life with greater wisdom and confidence. Click it, and let's keep growing together. Until the next talk, take care and keep embracing your inner Stoic.